الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. We continue in Buloogh Al-Maraam by the great illustrious, the great Imam Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani, who died 852 after the Hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wassalam. On this day, where the time now is 3:50 p.m., Sunday, February the 3rd, 2019, which is in direct correlation with the Islamic calendar, Jumad al-Ula 27 عام 1440, Jumad al-Ula 27 27th 1440 after the Hijrah, after the migration of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We were discussing, we continue the hadith, or actually we finish extracting the benefits from the hadith of Ibn Abbas, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us supplication, which is considered a protection, a fortification from the shaitan. If a child is conceived or born, then this will be a reason for his rectification as far as granting him a form of protection from the shaitan. We discussed and extracted from this narration the numerous benefits that it contains of the supplication, and how this narration also has fawaid aqadiyah. It also has benefits that's pertaining to the belief system of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and the foundation of the Salafiyin wa Ahl Hadith, of the belief of the Qadr, and refuting the different groups that deviated in that affair. As we talked about the Jabriyah, we talked about the Qadariyah, and how this hadith refutes them. You'll find in the hadith it talks about how the abd, or the servant, has his own choice. He has his own choice. In the narration we discussed last class, if one of you wants to be intimate with his family, he said, "Lo anna ahadakum idha arada ya'tiya ahlahu." If one of you, that he wants to be intimate with his family, be intimate with his spouse, then he says, in the name of Allah, to the end of the narration. We said that the first part of the narration, as we said, is an affirmation for what? To show that the abd, or the servant, has his free will. And he has his mashi'ah, he has his will. And he has his will to choose between right and wrong, or guidance or misguidance, and what have you. That all goes back to what? It returns back to the mashi'ah, or the will that Allah has given the servant. Likewise, in the same narration, in the end, we said, فَإِنَّهُ إِن يُقَدَّرْ بَيْنَهُمَا وَلَدْ فِي ذَلِكَ لَمْ يَضُرَّهُ الشَّيْطَانِ. Also, what is in it, likewise, of affirming the mashi'ah, or the will of Allah. So not only does the abd, or the servant, has his will and is free to choose what is right or is wrong, or his own act, but ultimately, likewise, if it's been predetermined, if you notice in the narrations we discussed last week, if it's been predetermined and destined, a child to be conceived or to be born, he says then the child will not be harmed by the shaitan. So we said that part of the hadith, in yuqaddar baynahuma, if it's been destined or decreed a child be conceived, that shows and affirms the will of Allah. That Allah does have his will over the creation. And even though we've been commanded to carry out the asbab, because this hadith affirms, likewise everyone, the asbab, that we've been commanded to what? To carry out the reasons for things that will be the result, or things to carry, or that ultimately will come a reality if we were to do certain acts. From them, if one wants a child, he's intimate with his spouse. That's how he would attain, or that's how a child is conceived. So that's the means. The result, or what they call the musabbabat, or the result of that, is that a child will be what? Conceived. But ultimately, it goes back to what Allah wants. Either Allah will allow the child to be conceived, to be born, or Allah, by his infinite wisdom, in his complete wisdom, he will not allow a child to be what? To be conceived due to that intimacy. So the affair, so this narration, this part of the narration as we discussed, we said that it affirms the will of Allah, and that ultimately the affair and the final determination returns back to him subhanahu wa ta'ala of what he wants. Even though at the same time we've been commanded to carry out the means. And any type of affair of good and benefit, whether it be in our worldly affairs or in our religious affairs and in the hereafter. We've been commanded to work diligently of what will benefit us. As the message of Allah clearly mentions in another narration, he said, "Ihris ala ma yanfa'uk." He says, have that diligence to set out and attain what will benefit you. It's to let us know we've been commanded to carry out the asbab, the means, and the methods, to put forth the effort, and anything of good, whether it be in our studies, whether it be in our religion, whether it be in taking care of our families, or what have you. But however, the final determination and divine destiny decree is with Allah. So that also affirms that Allah has his will over the creation likewise. So the creation has their will, and and Allah has his will. However, the will of the creation follows behind the will of the Creator. So that also refutes the deviant sect called the Qadariyah. The Qadariyah. طيب. Also, it's extracted from this hadith, brothers and sisters, as we discuss, is the affirmation that there's a shaitan. I'm sure that everyone, see, that's self-explanatory. In the narration, it says, لم يضره الشيطان أبدا. He says that the shaitan, which affirms that there's an unseen being that Allah created, or not a human being, but an unseen one that Allah has created, who's called the shaitan, who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has tested Bani Adam by. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows the shaitan to be a trial and a test for the human being, in which he does his best to try to mislead the children of Adam, either by affecting them in their methodology or in their belief system, or physically or mentally or religiously. Shaitan is a clear open enemy that tries to dominate and overpower Bani Adam in any way, shape, form, or fashion. As we know, that shaitan is in proof and evidences in Kitab and Sunnah, as it's clearly established that shaitan can dominate and affect one and alter one and take him away what's correct in his belief system, or he can dominate and overpower him mentally, and the shaitan can even beat one down physically. To let you know how shaitan, how his enmity for Bani Adam has been well established, to the point where the Prophet ﷺ said that even shaitan wants to harm us even in our children, even at the time where they conceived, to let you know how evil, how the wickedness of shaitan has reached its highest level, to the point where he even wants to harm the Bani Adam, or the children of Adam, to the point at the point where they even conceived, to let you know how wicked and evil and how much malice and hatred he has for Bani Adam, to the point where he even tried to damage an offspring and a child. So in order to ward off this enemy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us to take as an enemy, in order to ward him off, you cannot punch him or kick him physically. You cannot punch the shaitan, you cannot kick the shaitan, an unseen enemy that sees you. You cannot kick him or fight him physically. The only way you can fight him, number one, is by dua, by supplication, and memorizing the authentic prophetic narrations of the Prophet ﷺ, which is utilized as a protection, fortification against your unseen enemy. And the example of that is in this particular narration here in front of us. This is how you protect yourself, and not only protect yourself, but protect your progeny, or protect your offspring and your children from the enemy who wants to hurt you, and he wants to damage you in any shape, form, or fashion. As we know, the shaitan, if you do not pronounce the tasmiyah of Bismillah and mention these type of supplications, shaitan partakes in intimacy along with your spouse. As we mentioned, as we said this, and we said this was from the sharh of which the great Imam, may Allah preserve us in him, or may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him, Sheikh Salih Fawzan mentions, says, if you do not mention the tasmiyah, that the shaitan partakes in being intimate with your spouse. Just as you don't make tasmiyah upon food and upon when you eat your meals or consume your meals, shaitan also partakes with you in your what? In your meals when you eat. So this shows the barakah of a tasmiyah. It shows the barakah and the blessing of Bismillah, of saying Bismillah before one eats and one partakes in certain affairs. Or rather, in all of his affairs in his life, he tries to stay upon al-wird. Al-wird al-shar'i or al-urad al-shar'iyya al-thabit al-sahiha التي ثبتت عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. You'll find that the Muslim, that he says in his commentary, the great Imam Sheikh Salih Fawzan, that the Muslim always clings and he's always adhering to those prophetic supplications in all affairs of his life. Whether it be upon wearing his clothes, whether upon him waking up, whether upon him entering the bathroom, whether him going outside the bathroom, going outside the house, getting in his car, coming in the masjid, all the Muslim throughout his life at the time when he goes to sleep, all these affairs is to order to protect Bani Adam from the plots and the wickedness and the evil shaitan who wants to destroy him any way possible. Either by his unseen minions or his unseen followers or the followers from mankind. Because we know there are shayateen from ins and jinn. There are shayateen from the unseen shayateen, and there are also shayateen from human beings. That all of them are fitna for Bani Adam. And the way that you what? That the way that you protect yourself is from these supplications that we just mentioned here. That's the way you protect yourself and fight the unseen enemy who has declared that he wants to make war with you until you die, until you enter the hellfire. And he does his best in order to what? To make you deviate from that path. And from the greatest ways that he deviates Bani Adam is to trick them and foil them in the aspect of their belief system and turn it and alter it and distort it. And that is what you see shaitan to this day has done, in which you will find that he's clearly said in the ayat where Allah Ta'ala says, that shaitan says, he said, ثُمَّ لَآتِيَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ وَعَنْ أَيْمَانِهِمْ وَعَنْ شَمَائِلِهِمْ وَلَا تَجِدُ أَكْثَرَهُمْ شَاكِرِينَ قال المفسرون وعلى رأسهم ابن عباس ترجمان القرآن كما قال رضي الله عنه وأرضاه ولا تجد أكثرهم موحدين. He says, I will come from in front of them and from behind them and from the right of them and to the left of them, and you will not find the majority of them thankful. You'll find that Ibn Abbas said the meaning of thankful here, you will not find the majority of them upon Tawheed. That they're going to be upon some type of form of polytheism or idolatry or some way that opposes your path of kufr or what? Or deviation, something. Shaitan always tries to have his portion of misguidance or deviation for the human being, which is to let you know that he's what? He's waged his war and he's declared it, where he even said it to Allah, who Allah allowed him to wage war for a reason. Out of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's infinite wisdom, and you'll find that it is said that Ibn al-Qayyim mentioned from the fawaid, or the benefits of that, is that Allah wanted to test Bani Adam by shaitan, allowing the shaitan to exist, to be a test for the children of Adam, to be a test for them. طيب. So this is the narration to show and affirm that there is an unseen. There's an unseen creation. From them is shaitan himself. Shaitan is an unseen creation that has his minions and his soldiers from those who are unseen and from human beings. But here in this narration it shows the unseen shaitan. Who's the shaitan? Who's Iblis? Who Allah Ta'ala has said that he has what? Declared war from the children of Adam. طيب. If you look to the next narration, if you flip the page, everyone. If you turn the page to the next narration. Oh. SubhanAllah. Where is it at? SubhanAllah. Just give me 1 second. SubhanAllah. Oh, here it is. طيب. Here it is, right? That's the beginning right there. No. You notice in the next narration upon Abu Hurairah, radiyallahu anhu arda. What's Abu Hurairah's real name, everyone? AbdurRahman ibn Sakhr. Sakhra. AbdurRahman. There's a lot of what was mentioned But the strongest opinion is it's Abdurrahman ibn Sakhr ad-Dawsi. Abdurrahman ibn Sakhr ad-Dawsi. He's the tribe from Daws, which emanated from Yemen. He originally was from Yemen, Yemen, radiyallahu anhu ardah, who migrated right from Yemen to the land of what we know of Saudi Arabia presently or currently today. But he originally, radiyallahu anhu, was from Yemen. The Dawsi tribe was originally from Yemen. So his name was Abdurrahman ibn Sakhr ad-Dawsi, radiyallahu anhu ardah. It said that upon the message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we know that upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he said, قال إذا دعا الرجل امرأته إلى فراشه فأبت أن تجيء فبات غضبان لعنتها الملائكة حتى تصبح. متفق عليه. واللفظ للبخاري ولمسلم كان الذي في السماء ساخطا عليها حتى يرضى عنها يعني حتى يرضى عنها زوجها. So you have the narration of Abu Hurairah upon the Prophet ﷺ that he said, إذا دعا الرجل امرأته إلى فراشه فأبت أن تجيء فبات غضبان لعنتها الملائكة حتى تصبح. It says that if a man that he calls his wife, a lot of people say woman, the meaning of it is not girlfriend. Doesn't mean girlfriend. It means his wife or spouse. However, woman was mentioned here in this context for what is understood as one's spouse. If a man calls his spouse to be intimate with her, meaning if he calls her to the firash, of course we know means to the bedroom. For what? For the affair of intimacy. And she refuses to come, he says, and her husband, that he comes or he sleeps in the night or he remains in the night upset and mad and angry, the angels curse her until the morning time. The angels curse her until the morning time. The hadith, as we know, is in one of those highest levels of authenticity, which is Al-Bukhari Muslim, and we know that the wording is in Al-Bukhari. There's another narration which is in Muslim. He says that the one that is above the heavens also will what? Be angry with her until her husband is pleased with her. So you have two affairs. That's major. You have the angels cursing her, and her Lord being angry with her, all at once. So it's not just the angels. The angels curse her, along with her Lord being angry with her. And also in the narration of saying her Lord will be angry with her until her husband is pleased with her. Until her husband is pleased with her. So that's two affairs that we'll talk about and explain in detail, inshallah. So as we continue in the chapter of what? Of nikah, in the chapter of marriage, there's so many benefits that's extracted from this narration. I'm sure some sisters or people will say, looking at this narration, it's not that much benefits in here. It's a lot of benefits. A whole lot of benefits in which probably we don't have a lot of time to give the full details that's extracted, because it has a lot of benefits. Benefits as far as fiqh and benefits as far as aqidah, as far as the belief system. The previous hadith, everyone, it affirms the shaitan, right, everyone? This hadith affirms that there's an unseen creation called the who? The angels. You'll find that in the first part of the narration, as we know before we start the explanation, trying to now extract all the different benefits, we say that from the greatest of rights of a spouse over his wife, this is the initial affair. This is what the originally or initially or fundamental, excuse me, I say fundamentally, but let's say initially, what is the right of the husband over his wife? What he has as a right over her is that if he's to call her, to be intimate with her, in order for him to now, like we said, قضاء الوطر من أعظم مقاصد الزواج. For a man now to satisfy his desires, of course, in the aspect of intimacy and sexually also, is from the greatest intents of marriage. Meaning for one to what? For one to protect her and his private part, both. For verily in it is keeping the private parts chaste. Keeping them chaste and protected. Keeping the private parts chaste and protected. So number one, we say that this hadith is to show the greatest rights of the husband over his wife. That she should answer him. It's cool, it's kind of cold. Somebody open the door? That in it, if for one, it was to call his wife to be intimate, then it is what? This is coming upon her to what? To answer. Except for an excuse, because I want everyone to what? Take that in consideration. Except for an excuse. There is a narration, there is a benefit that Ahl Ilm mentioned and said, if she has a justifiable excuse, that the husband should accept that. I'm going to read it, don't worry. Some brothers say, yeah, she's supposed to answer my call. If she has an excuse that's justifiable and acceptable, you should what? Accept it and excuse her and pardon her. And we know there are exceptions. If a woman tells you right now that I'm on my monthly cycle, that's a justifiable excuse. If a woman says to you, I've been working all week and you don't have a job yet, that's a justifiable excuse. I have 4 kids, I work full time, and I have to take care of the 5 kids when I get home. That's a justifiable excuse. Brothers, okay? So I want the brothers to keep that in mind. So a woman can be pardoned in certain circumstances. She can be pardoned. If she has a justifiable legislated excuse, then you should what? Excuse her and pardon her. And you'll also find that the hadith does not apply in these particular what? Matters. In these particular instances. Especially if the man is not fulfilling his duty. If it's a man that doesn't have a job and she's working full time, and in certain instances, we know that women are exhausted and tired from their job. And if that's the case, then she tells you, listen, I'm exhausted, I'm tired. Then she is pardoned, inshallah. So I wanted to lay that down. So brothers and sisters, keep that in mind. So she has this excuse, then she's what? Then she's pardoned. However, to keep in mind, because I want to keep the affair balanced. Keep in mind, sisters, like we said, this still the initial. If everything was systematically being done in our households, of course, then we know that this is a right of the husband initially over his wife. That this is his right over her. That this is his right over her. That as much as she is able, that she should what? As much as she is able, and what is in her ability, of course. That she should what? She should keep herself decorated and clean and also appealing to her husband as much as possible. As much as possible. And also, likewise, if he calls her to be intimate, then he should answer her. She should answer him, She should answer him. Because these are from the greatest intents of zawaj. One of the intents of why we know that marriage has been legislated is to protect the private part and to keep it chaste. So one does not fall into something unlawful. And that which will now allow Allah's anger to descend upon a person. Because we know that these affairs of premarital sex and premarital relationships have now been a reason for Allah's wrath descending upon our societies and upon nations. That premarital sex, and you see that from Allah's anger descending upon the creation because of them indulging in these matters, is STDs, sexual transmitted diseases. Is one of the ways to show clearly that Allah is displeased with premarital acts or acts that are done before marriage. So in this affairs, like we said, is what? Is protection of one's private part. That's the reason why these affairs have been legislated. not only to keep the man's private part chaste, to also likewise keep the woman what? Keep the woman chaste. Just as it's been legislated for one to lower his gaze, or her to lower her gaze. Also it's been legislated for one not to also fall into something unlegislated or something that will earn Allah's wrath if one was to indulge in that act. And Allah's anger would descend upon a person. That's why you'll find in the Kitab and Sunnah, Allah Ta'ala legislated ways to protect oneself in so many narrations. And these are from them. That if one is to be married, he calls his wife to be intimate, then she should try to be intimate as much as possible. And to also keep herself clean and to keep herself what? Looking appealing and beautified to the best of her ability. So you'll find that it says in it, or from the legislations that will protect people's private part, we know. The Prophet ﷺ gave advice to so many narrations. We already talked about it. Hadith where it says, يا معشر الشباب من استطاع منكم الباء فليتزوج فإنه أحصن للفرج وأغض للبصر ومن لم يستطع منكم فعليه بالصوم فإن له وجاء. To the end of it. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned and said, O young people who are young, who is ever from amongst you that has the ability financially and physically, then let him get married, for verily it will be a fortification for his private part, and it will allow him to lower his gaze. It will be a reason for him to lower his gaze. And whoever is not amongst you can do that or doesn't have the ability, then let him fast. So all those are to show what? There are different ways that the Prophet ﷺ put emphasis on how much we should what? Keep our private parts chaste. All these narrations is to also show that what? In an indirect way, or if you want to say to extract the mukhalafat al-mafhum, or to extract the benefit that goes against, if you want to say, or the opposite, is that fornication is unlawful. That fornication and premarital sex and premarital involvement and premarital relationships and connections with people are unlawful. And it's the reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wrath will descend upon a people, or will descend upon a person or a people or a society or a nation. And I think it's self-explanatory if you look to this country that we're in, of how much you'll see how much destruction that premarital relationships have caused, of the breaking down society and the destruction of family structures now has been what? Have been destroyed, or it's been strained significantly. And you see how fathers don't care about their children, how they distance themselves from children who are not legislated children, who are born out of wedlock. You'll find as if the father don't even care about the child in most cases. Why? Because he was born out of a marriage that he has no connection with, based upon the fact that the child was conceived out of a improper relationship that Allah did not legislate. And this has led to the destruction of society and communities. As a result of it, the child he carries, or the child, whether it be male or female, carries some type of what? Some type of anger towards the father. Or you'll find that the mother takes it out on the child. So he has what they call a double whammy. Don't know who his father is, and then the mother takes it out on the child. You hear statements in the mind of the child, you're going to be trifling just like your father. You're going to be no good just like your father. You got the exact same characteristics of your father. You're not going to grow up and you're going to be nobody, no good just like your father. In which a woman should not even be speaking to a child like this. Because you're breaking him down or breaking her down mentally. To the point where he's going to come as a result of it, crime. So now he's going to be a detriment to society, where he's going to go out outside and wreak havoc upon society, where he's going to commit a crime. Because his mother put inside of his mind that he's going to just be total garbage for society. So he passed these now issues on to the child. So the child wreaks havoc on society because my father wasn't around and my mother already put in my mind I'm going to be garbage. So now what's the use of me being what? I don't have no value to society, so what's the use of me having care or respect for anyone else? So as a result of it, crime comes. All of this initially came from what? Fornication, adultery, premarital sex. How it's all connected. This family structure destroyed, havoc upon society, because usually, in most cases, if now the family structure was together, and the father and the mother were raising the child and cultivating the child and instilling manners in the child, respect and chivalry and honor, then he would show likewise honor to people in society. And the crime rate would be what? Would diminish immensely. Because you'll find that the majority of crime in society, it all goes back to there was some type of discrepancy in the family structure as that child was being raised in that household. Something went wrong in his cultivation, in his upbringing. Something was a major discrepancy somewhere in the household. In most cases. You'll have the little small rare cases that the child might have just still wanted to go out and the law declared that he do something that basically wasn't in conformity to how he was raised. You'll find those cases, no doubt. But there is, in most cases, you'll find that a lot of crime, and you go and look into the mind of the person who's committing the crime, there was some type of deficiency somewhere in that household that he was brought up in. Somewhere along the lines. Either the father wasn't there, or the mother wasn't around, or the mother raised him or her incorrectly. Or she didn't even care. Or the mother didn't even care. She just like, listen, because I've seen situations where the mother didn't, I have my children, you're the last one, I don't feel like raising you. So they'll let the streets raise her. So all of this is to what? Or they'll let the streets raise her son. Which is all ultimately goes back that there's some type of deficiency in the cultivation and the upbringing of the child. Where the parents came up short in somewhere, whether they was on drugs, whether they was an alcoholic, whether they just skipped out on their child, or they just let them go. They just totally just got rid of their child. Somewhere there was some type of discrepancy in the household, something pertaining to the family structure. In most cases. And like I've talked about, and it's sad to say, if I talk to a brother, and I sat down to a lot of brothers and sisters, and I've heard their situations. And I listened to some of them. And I heard brothers have talked to me. He said, SubhanAllah, I've been married so and so amount of times. He said, now one of my wives had a father in her life. I said, wow. Not one? He said, probably one out of four. He said, maybe one. One might have the father was around from time to time. Stopped through. But the majority of them didn't have a father nowhere around. I've asked brothers, sisters, same thing. Sisters, same thing. About brothers, say the same thing. What about, because I always wanted to just take some type of like note on certain situations of why people conduct in a certain way. And they say, for example, oh, my husband, you don't know his father either. Father nowhere around. Father was around, he had to be raised by his mother. Because them probably more than likely the mother didn't know how to raise the son. So what's the ultimate result? The ultimate result is this. So these are the consequences. The consequences is you'll come in marriages, and I want everyone to listen to this. You'll find marriages now where brothers and sisters don't know how to find a correct spouse with functional behavior. So they look for a spouse with dysfunctional behavior, thinking that it is functional behavior. So now, because they seen their mother being raised and she using vulgar language and screaming and hollering and using profanity and what have you, they think that's acceptable behavior of how marriage is supposed to be, and it's not. So you'll find that even our brothers, they look for this type of woman that has this behavior, and they think that's the type of ideal spouse I'm supposed to have. A woman that screams, hollers, has an attitude all the time and just uses verbal and vulgar language and drives me crazy and makes me lose it. Also, you'll find in situations, you'll find that because of this type of discrepancy in these households, where a lot of our sisters and brothers don't realize it, but they're looking for a spouse to be their father. And I'll talk about this later because I want to give a lecture on this. You'll find that a lot of sisters, they're not looking for a husband. They might not realize it, but they're looking for a father figure in their household or in their marriage. They're looking for a husband to treat them like they're their daughter. And you'll find that there's sick brothers out here that are willing to be the father. All right, you want a father? I'll be your father then. I'll treat you like you're my daughter. So you'll find that the woman is not raised, she's not raised, and she's looking for now a husband to raise her. So now the husband takes on the role of raising his wife. And you'll find opposite, likewise. You'll find the wife now has to come in a relationship where she's raising a grown man. Why? Because he wasn't never cultivated properly. So now you'll find, and I've heard complaints from sisters who have told me this. He says, my husband, he conducts himself like a little child. Like he doesn't know he has to be responsible. Like he has to go out and get a job. He has to go and take care of the kids. Or he has to take care of his children. Or that he has to take out the trash sometimes. It's like a little child in my house that I got to raise. Ain't nobody have time for this. And then women think that automatically men know this. But we live in days and times men truly don't know this because a lot of them weren't raised. And you know where it all goes back to, brothers and sisters? It goes back to what? The fornication and the sin in the community. Destroyed the family structure. So now values are lost. Mannerisms are lost. Men and women don't know their roles. They don't know how to conduct like a spouse. So you'll find a lot of sisters and men complaining. I've heard brothers say the same thing. He say, Akhi, it's like I'm married, like I got another child in my house. I got my own children. I got to raise my wife. I have to teach my wife she got to take a bath. I got to teach my wife she got to take a shower. I got to teach my wife that she got to sometimes get her hair done. I got to teach my wife this. I got to teach my stuff that you already expect that women's supposed to know, that you would think she would know. I have to tell her she has to sometimes take a bath, clean herself. Yes, like you're raising a child. And these things, and I'm frank, brothers and sisters probably thinking the reason why I'm taking time out because we have to try to tackle these problems. The reason why, because these is what's destroying the marriages. And I'm telling you what it is. It's behavior like due to the fact that a lot of people think they're getting into marriage, they're taking on a spouse, but they don't realize that it's as if they're raising a child. And a lot of them brothers and sisters don't have time for this. They complain. Like, I don't want to marry my wife and I'm raising another child in my house. Nobody has time for this. Like, I'm a grown man. I'm not looking for a child. I'm looking for a woman that already knows what she's supposed to do. And similar to that, women the same thing. I ain't marry a man to act like I'm raising my own son. I'm coming into marriage thinking he's supposed to know his responsibilities. What's he supposed to do as a man? But to let you know, brothers and sisters, this is to show why Allah has what? Ordained marriage. So these things can stop happening. Because it all goes back to the what? To the breaking down, dissolvement of the family structure. What comes out as a result of it, values are lost, respect is lost, love is lost, and also likewise, like we said, mannerism and etiquette of knowing everybody's place is lost. And I hear complaints from both sides all the time, from brothers and sisters. I've heard it all. Trust me, I've been in the Dow now for over 20-something years. I've heard it all from both sides. It's men and the women. It's both. Both of them have problems. So that's the reason why we say, stay away from the fornication. Stay away from the what? Premarital involvement with these men and women. Stop it. You see why Allah has ordained marriage. He's ordained it for a reason. It's better for you, sister, that you marry a man, even though we don't just encourage that you get divorced, but it's better for you to get married and get divorced than you being on the phone and having 1,000 kids, 10 kids by a man who's not your husband. And a lot of times, in the most cases, it's sad to say, but if you really want a man to respect you, then you will marry him. Men do not respect women in most cases that they have fornicated with, if not any respect at all. They'll lose respect for you. If you fornicate in adultery, I've seen all these cases. Usually in a man that he's fornicated or committed adultery with a woman, even if he marries her, he still doesn't show her respect. Even if he decided to marry you, he'll still cheat on you. Is that respect? I'm asking. He's still disrespecting you. Why? Because you started off with disrespect of yourself first. You disrespected yourself, so now I ain't got no respect for you. So usually two things happen. Either he won't marry you, so your feelings is hurt now because he lost respect for you. Or if he marries you, he shows you disrespect in the marriage. So all in all, just to solve all these problems, well, this is what we do. Let's just obey Allah and His Messenger. Khalas, case closed. To avoid all these emotional breakdowns and all these different plights and problems in our lives, all we have to do, is sad to say, it's simple to say on our tongues, but it's hard upon us to apply. Just obey Allah and His Messenger and do what Allah and His Messenger say. It's that simple. If we do that, we can start rectification of society. And we can start rectification of these social ills and these problems in our families. That's all I have to do. We just obey what Allah and His Messenger said. Stop trying to cheat Allah's rules. Stop trying to think, oh, Allah, I know what you say and ordain, even though some people don't say it verbally, but in their actions as if they're saying it. Oh, Allah, I know you have ordained marriage, but I just got to see for myself. You see for yourself? Okay. So now what happens? You marry a man, or you fornicate with a man at the beginning of the marriage, then you see he lost respect for you. He have no respect for you. Then you marry him now, and in the marriage, he's showing you disrespect. So now you're going through all these emotional roller coasters, pulling your hair out. I'm just depressed. Have you learned yet that Allah, what He ordains, is perfect? And when we go about our own way and thinking we're going to attain happiness by going over what Allah legislates, how we get disgraced. You see it yet? A lot of us will say, now what we'll do is we'll fall on our face and get back up and still do it again. Till 6 to 7 times, 8 times, 9 times, 10 times. And then we're so arrogant, we'll still say, you know what we'll do? It's their fault. Never pointing the finger at themselves first. It's the men's fault. There ain't no good men out here. Well, sister, how did you meet those brothers? I was dating them. I was on the phone with them. Oh, yeah? So you don't think that was the problem? You ever thought that might have been the problem? Hey, you got to take it on the chin. Prophet ﷺ made it clear that disgrace, and humiliation has been made upon the one who opposes my command. And that's even in our personal lives. That's not just in Kitab and Sunnah. And upon Minhaj al-Salafi and affairs pertaining to Aqidah. That's even in our personal lives. That's applied. You oppose Allah, the Prophet ﷺ's command, disgrace and humiliation will be upon an individual. Prophet ﷺ made it clear. He says, جُعِلَ الذِّلَّةُ وَالصَّغَارَ عَلَى مَنْ خَالَفَ أَمْرِي. Disgrace and humiliation will be upon a person that opposes my command. Prophet ﷺ commanded us to do it this way. We still want to do it this way. Then we get the results. We get the same results at the end. Until when we're going to finally learn. We have to wake up. So we can start in being a reason, a solution of trying to put our families back together, so we can stop marrying our spouses and feeling like we're fathers to our spouse or mothers to our spouse. Because it is a terrible feeling to marry someone and you feel like they're their father. That's a terrible feeling. Even for me, if I was to marry a woman, it's like I'm raising another child in my house. That's a very awkward feeling. She's not my daughter, she's my wife. Same thing to a woman. A woman doesn't want to come into marriage thinking she's trying to raise her son. Like, I'm not looking for a son. If I have my son, I got my own children to raise. Now I got to raise another child? It's clear what I'm saying, everyone? So that's the reason why some people love AbdurRazzaaq, some people hate him. We got to call it is what it is. Until we need to stop watering down stuff and just be real with each other. Then that's when the problem solves. The problem we solve by what? We start to call each other out. Call each other out. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be frank. So we can now be a rectification to society, starting with us. Because there's no chance for society unless the people who are upon Salafiyya rectifies their affairs. We're the only reason why society has any chance left. It's because of the Tawheed and the sunnah and the people of the sunnah being what? Being prevalent and existing. But if our affairs are not straight with our families, how are we going to think we're going to rectify anybody else's families and their other affairs also? That's the reason why we have to straighten our affairs out. We're the only chance for society to survive is the people of Islam. After that, there isn't anyone left. There's only people of corruption. That's it. At any rate, getting back to the narration, as we said that in regards to what the Messenger of Allah said, فَإِذَا دَعَاهَا لِهَذَا الْعَمَلِ, and what the great Imam that he mentions in this hadith, that he says, if the husband, and I'm going to read quickly what the great Imam says. Sheikh Salih Fawzan, طَلَّى اللَّهُ فِي عُمْرِهِ بِالْأَعْمَالِ الصَّالِحَةِ. He said, فَإِذَا دَعَاهَا لِهَذَا الْعَمَلِ الَّذِي فِيهِ هذه المصالح العظيمة يجب عليها أن تجيبه حتى ولو كانت على التنور. وفي حديث آخر أو لو كانت على ظاهر قتب، في رواية قتب أو قتب أو قتب، كلها صحيح، يعني على ظاهر البعير راكبة إذا دعاها على أي حال فإنها يجب عليها أن تجيبه. هذا من حقوقه عليها وهو أيضا من مصلحتها هي، لأن فيه إعفافا لها وحماية لها من الفاحشة. To the end of it. So then he goes on to say, حفظ الله ورعاه, if he calls it to be intimate, for verily in that is tremendous benefits. And if she doesn't have an excuse, of course, he says, then it's obligatory upon her to answer him. He says, even if she was upon a hot oven. The Prophet ﷺ was just giving a what? He's just giving a just example of how emphasis this right is. That's all. Not literally for her to be upon a hot oven, but but as far as he's just giving emphasis. He says even if she was upon a tanur. A tanur is like a place of a hot type of a stove or a hot place. In another narration, the Prophet ﷺ said to put emphasis on what he was saying, even if she was upon the back of a qatab or qitab or ba'ir. If she was upon the what? On the back of a riding beast or top or mounted upon a riding beast. If he asks to be intimate, then she should answer it. Not saying to do that, but to show what? To put emphasis on how this right is what? Is important. In order to keep a man and keep the woman likewise chaste. So they do not fall into what? Something abominable. Something that's an abominable act that's done with the private part. To keep the private parts chaste and to keep the families and the children protected so they could be conceived in a legislative manner. And that's from his rights upon her. And it's also from her what? As he goes on to say, from her benefit. To protect her and to keep her private parts chaste. And to protect her from abominable acts that are what? Done with the private part. So, he said this benefit is shared amongst both spouses. And it will also bring about another benefit. It will be a reason for a child being conceived. And it's also part of the whole chapter, which the great Imam, with the great Imam Ahmed bin Hajar put the chapter in, which is called Husn al-Ishra or Ishrat al-Nisa, how to live with women in kindness. And this is part of it, which is also perfecting one's dealings in his what? In his relationship with his spouse. And this is part of that good treatment. Good treatment is also what? Being intimate or intimacy. And it also allows the marital relationship to remain. And this is from its tremendous benefits. And we know the opposite effect, or the understanding what we attain from this narration, is that what? فَلَا يَجُوزُ لَهَا أَن تَمْتَنِعَ مِنْهُ هذا من حقه عليها كما أنها من حقها عليه أن يجامعها أيضا فلو ترك جماعها وطالت المدة فلها أن تطالب لأن هذا حق لها عليه. This is the great man. He goes on to say in the explanation. He also goes on to say there's tremendous benefits. And if there is any excuse, for justifiable excuse for the woman, it is not permissible for her to what? To abstain from the call of her husband. Because this is his right upon her. And for brothers, this is her right upon him. That he's intimate with her also, and if he leaves off being intimate with her, and the extent or the amount or the time frame becomes long, then she has the right to ask and to request it. Because this is also likewise her right upon him. So these are from the what? From the maqasid al-zawaj. These are from the intents of what? A marriage. So it's not permissible for her to what? To refrain, or to also, like we said, to refrain or not to answer the call, or to also likewise take away these benefits. And we know that that is also from what? Bad etiquette and bad dealings in marriage. To the point where the Prophet ﷺ said that the angels curse her. That the angels curse her. We already just covered and said that if there's no excuse, if there isn't any justifiable excuse, then he said that the angels will what? The angels will curse her. We know that the la'na or la'na breaks down to two types. Or la'na, linguistically in the Arabic language, can mean sab, seen ba, bi tashdid al ba. You put a shadda on the ba. Sabbun. Sab, Latin can also mean just to insult one. Doesn't necessarily mean to invoke the curse of Allah upon individual. But Latin can also mean sab. It can mean to insult one, to insult someone, to insult them. And we also know insulting one also means what? It means dispraising one. Of course, that's all connected. So it can mean seb, and it can mean insulting one and also dispraising one. Dispraising one. Because we know, of course, all of it's connected. And also la'an can mean incurring or invoking the curse upon someone. That's the second meaning of la'an. You'll find there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he mentioned it, said, "Ad-dunya mal'una, mal'unun ma fiha illa dhikrullah ma walahu aliman wa muta'allima." The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the dunya is cursed. Cursed everything that is in it except the remembrance of Allah and what is similar to that, and a scholar or a teacher or a person that's learned and the one who's learning from him. Taib, upon which meaning of la'na here does this hadith apply to? The first or the second? The Prophet ﷺ said that the dunya is cursed. Mal'una. Does it mean that it's cursed? Does it mean that the message of Allah is saying that it's actually cursed, that it's the voke of Allah, his curses upon it? Or does it mean that he's dispraising it? That the Prophet ﷺ is dispraising it? Saying that it's dispraiseworthy, it's just something that you should not be fooled by. It's something that's lowly. It's no benefit with Allah. It's just something that is utilized so you could get to the hereafter. So that's what's what? Praiseworthy. But the dunya is what? The dunya, everything is it. He said dunya, the dunya is cursed, meaning dispraised. Dispraised. That's the meaning of the hadith. Meaning that the things that we deem to be so glorified or so embellished and so decorated, in the eyes of Allah, tabarak wa ta'ala, we know it's what, everyone? It's lowly. Because we know the Prophet ﷺ clearly said in the hadith with the Prophet, they said, لو كانت الدنيا ساوت عند الله جناح بعوضة أو كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ساوت عند الله جناح بعوضة ما سقى منها كافرا شربة ماء. Like if this dunya had anything equal of any value with Allah, the wing of a what? Of a mosquito, meaning any value with Allah, he would not what? ما سقى منها كافرا شربة ماء. He would not if it had any value with Allah, then he would not give any disbeliever or one who disbelieved in Allah a drink of water. To let you know how insignificant this world is with Allah and how lowly it is with Allah. This dunya that we in our eyes think it's so what? So glorified and so precious. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So the meaning of hadith that the dunya is mal'una doesn't mean the first or second. It means the what, everyone? I mean the first meaning. It's dispraised. It's looked down upon. Doesn't have a lot of value. Taib. So now we say in this regard. So it says that the angels will what? The angels will curse her. How long have we been talking? For about an hour now? Oh, we'll stop here. It's an hour. That's enough. We'll stop here. Put a mark on here. We'll stop. Taib. I don't like to talk too much, too long. طيب. So in regards to, again, sisters and brothers and sisters, we encourage the people to donate for the bathrooms. Alhamdulillah, I found a paper. You can either donate through the PayPal account. The PayPal account, we need to get the bathrooms finalized in this masjid ASAP, as soon as possible. The brothers and sisters here, it's a major inconvenience to come in this masjid and there's only one bathroom. It's a major inconvenience, especially on Jumu'ah. Sisters come in, they have to wait in a long line and wait for the person to come out. So especially with the brothers likewise. Brothers come in, they have to wait a long line to either use the bathroom or make wudu. So even myself, like I find difficulty for myself. I have to use the bathroom outside somewhere, not outside literally in the bushes, but somewhere in another place, and I have to make wudu. I don't want nobody to get the misunderstanding I'm outside the masjid in a field somewhere. Just to clarify that. Not outside in the bushes or anything like that. I'm talking about in another facility somewhere. Another venue, another place. Another place. Place. I know people think, dang, y'all mean ma'am is doing that bad? Y'all have to use the bushes? Tell you. So that's even inconvenience on my part. Sometimes I have to make wudu at another place. And I also make wudu in my office, in my trash can. And then I pour it out. Yes. Sometimes it's that long. Because I have to hurry up and start the khutbah. People are waiting. So that's the reason why I said, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, and sisters and brothers and sisters, let's try to now donate to the cause as much. And I emphasize that this is an opportunity of good. And I told the brothers and sisters that the aid of Allah's da'wah will allow your wealth to be increased, especially when it's in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's religion and trying to help it move forward. That you'll find that your wealth will be augmented and increased in so many ways. That Allah, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned and said that. So many narrations. There's too many to be mentioned. One will just suffice by one. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ clearly said in the hadith Abu Hurairah, which is Mukharrajun fi at-Tirmidhi, where the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, لا ينقص صدقة من مال من صدقة وما زاد الله العبد بعفو إلا عزا وما تواضع أحد لله إلا رفعه. To the end of it. The Prophet ﷺ said that money will never be decreased by charity, especially in his cause. It will never be decreased. Allah will increase it. Rather, being stingy is what causes your wealth to decrease. Either your sustenance will be rendered tight, or Allah will put you in the feeling like that you're still tight, or that you're still poor, even though you're not. So it could be one of the two. I have a lot of money, but you still feel like I still gotta be tight. I still gotta watch it. I feel like I don't have nothing. Person has all this money in their account and they still feel like they don't have nothing. That's not barakah. So, if Allah Ta'ala opens up the door opportunity for us to take advantage of, so we can attain a tremendous reward, especially if it's in the cause of helping this religion progress and move forward, then it's incumbent upon us to seize that opportunity and take advantage of it. So, I tell the brothers, they let me finish the hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, وَمَا زَادَ اللَّهُ الْعَبْدَ بِعَفْوٍ إِلَّا عِزًّا. Now listen to this part. This is what I talked about in the khutbah. Allah will never increase a servant by him overlooking and pardoning people. Except if he does that, Allah will increase him in nobility and honor. And that brings me back to the statement of the great Imam, Hamid al-Liwal Jarh al-Ta'dil, the great Imam, Rabi' ibn Hadi al-Madkhali, Hafidhullah, who all the Hizbiyin and the whole dunya hate. And the whole dunya, and they're still making war with Sheikh Rabi' to this very moment, to the previous last night that I just received the message. And I'm saying, look at how they disrespect Sheikh Rabi'. Left and right. They don't let this man rest. And I just heard people screaming and hollering at him of a recording someone sent me. I said, woo, look how they start talking to shit. I said, wow, people are nuts these days. Nuts. No respect. Just last night, I just heard a message and people are hollering and screaming at Sheikh Rabi'. Young youth, thinking they know what they're doing. At any rate, so he said a profound statement, a profound, tremendous statement. And I said this in my class probably a couple of months ago, that two people were arguing in front of the Sheikh and they started complaining to him. he said, Sheikh so-and-so said something about you. He said something about so-and-so. He said something about this and that. So he said, yeah, Bunay. He said, my son, he said, if a man left off deviation in his religion and returned back and made tawbah and embraced Salafiyah, even if he killed my own son before that, I would forgive him. That's to let you know how much the religion of Allah and Salafiyah is so dear and more precious than our own and then our own what? Children, which is how we should be. He said, even if that man, just say he killed my child beforehand, and he made tawbah to Allah, and he forgave, and he made tawbah to Allah, and returned back to the truth, and embraced Salafiyah, and he killed my own son, I will forgive him. It's a profound statement. Tremendous. So it's to show, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, that the religion of Allah Ta'ala is what? Is dear to us, and we should do everything we can to spend on it, to our best of our ability. So this is the opportunity for us to what? Take advantage of it. So the bathrooms are needed. It's not just for the convenience, for just the people, but even just to what? Upgrade the house of Allah. Because these bathrooms are needed ASAP. Also, likewise, we want that barakah be put in our wealth. Either by our wealth being blessed, where Allah increases it, or Allah feels like we're what? We're rich, even though we might have a significant, substantial amount. Like we said, we still want to have it to be, and we still want it to be blessed. And we want that the angels, their dua and their supplication be answered. As even the angels make supplication, as I said, in the narration which is in Bukhari and Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ said, كل يوم يصبح فيه ابن آدم ينادي ملكان كريمان يقول أحدهما اللهم أعط المنفق خلفا ويقول الآخر اللهم أعط الممسك تلفا. He says in one narration, he said, the message of Allah said that every morning that the children of Adam come upon the morning, two angels call out. Two angels call out. Every morning that the children of the children of Adam come upon the morning. One of them say, "O Allah, give the one who's spending your cause, give him better. Or give him or leave him something of benefit." Meaning something, he make dua, the angels make a dua for his wealth or her wealth. And we know that the dua of the angels is answered. And we know from the benefits of our wealth that Allah will increase it. Or Allah will make you feel rich even though you might not have much. But you still feel rich. One of the most humiliating circumstances is to have a lot of money but you're still tight and you still feel like you don't have nothing. That's not barakah. That's not for your well-being blessed. So they make dua and say, "Oh Allah, give the one who spends in your cause khalafa. Give him better. Leave him something of benefit." And the other angel makes another supplication. "Oh Allah, a'til mumsik talafa." "Oh Allah, the one who's tight and stingy with his wealth, make you what? Spoil their wealth. Spoil it. Or cause destruction to it. Talaf. Spoil it. Corrupt it. Not corrupt it, but say spoil it. Or cause damage to their wealth. So these are the supplications of the angels every morning that Ibn Adam come upon. And we need to, like we said, brothers and sisters who's listening online, these are opportunities for us to what? To seize the opportunity to do some type of good for Allah's religion. And like I said, you can either pay it for the PayPal account. And the PayPal account is this. It's ARRAZZAAQ 302, not 02. 302. Say it again. ARRAZZAAQ 302 @gmail.com. They can pay through that's the PayPal account. I don't know, so I hope somebody again told me something's wrong with the Cash App. I got to check it. There's also a Cash App account where it says, the Cash App account is excuse me. That's a whole one that's right there? Cash.me? Or did they need the whole thing? I think it should pop up if you put this word in. Put $, a $, ARRAZZAAQ 302. I think they can send it through PayPal. Through Cash App. Even though I've been hearing a lot of complaints from that too. So brothers and sisters, you could send it through one of the two. Or they could come to the masjid and just give it through their own hand if they want. We'll stop here. Any questions about the lessons? The lesson? تفضل. Oh. Yeah. I'm going to give them a little bit more details next week. But just to leave off upon this, or leave off of this, that the meaning of it is the second meaning, not the first. So the angels are not insulting her, they're actually cursing her. So it's the second meaning. So the angels are what? The angels are invoking the actual curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon the woman until she either answers the call or her husband is pleased with her. Because just because the angels stop cursing her does not mean that Allah is still angry. Does not now negate that Allah is not still angry with her. Which one is worse? Even though both are terrible. But as they say from the statements of the scholars of today, he says, he say ihdahuma or ihdal amrayn mur. You'll find that the both affairs, the least of them are what? The least of them are still what? Still considered evil. Still wicked, still severe. So even though the angels might stop, but if her husband is still displeased with her, then our Lord is still what? Pleased with her. Because the other narration clearly says what? Until her husband is pleased with her. Until her husband is pleased with her. And I already explained that, like we said, it does play, so I don't want anyone to get the false impression that there's no justifiable excuses in certain situations, as we already elaborated on that. We already gave details on that. So that excuses a woman pardons her, especially if a woman that's working, has a lot of children, such situations where her husband is probably not maybe fulfilling his responsibility. That's a different scenario. We're talking about in situations where the man is doing his best of his ability, and the woman has no excuse. She just has no excuse whatsoever. But you'll find that Shaykh Al-Uthaymeen, he does mention that in his explanation, which I'll read next week. That he said that if a woman has a justifiable excuse, then she's pardoned. But if the man is doing what he's supposed to do, and a woman has no justifiable excuse, these narrations apply. And we'll get inside of more details, inshallah, next week. Did that answer the question, sister? Any other questions? طيب, we'll stop here. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك وأشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. اللهم اقسم بيننا وبين من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معاصيك، من طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك، ومن اليقين ما تهون به علينا مصائب الدنيا، ومتعنا الله بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقواتنا ما أبقيتنا، وجعله الوارث منا، ولا تجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا، وانصرنا على من عادانا، ولا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا، ولا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا ولا إلى النار مصيرنا، واجعل الجنة هي دارنا، ولا تسلط علينا بذنوبنا من لا يخافنا ولا يرحمنا. That narration is in Tirmidhi that the Messenger of Allah, is after certain sittings, he used to sometimes make that dua likewise. We'll talk about that later. طيب. I'll see you guys later. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.